All right, welcome to video 2 of Blues in E with Phil Licks TS tip sheet 004. So we in video 1 on YouTube, the public one. Oh, and by the way, thank you for being a Patreon. Please comment. Please any questions that you have. I want this to be an awesome community. I'm a little jacked up on coffee by now, and that's not a good thing because it's almost 5 o'clock. But what we're gonna do, we played this this lick right here in the beginning, and now we're gonna go to measure 3, which is just a shuffle on E. So we have our one finger down on the 2nd fret of A, and in this case you want to mute by the angle of your finger the D string, and I'm not feeling any wood on the fretboard. It's only touching the metal of the string, but the angle of my finger just comes down like that. So in measure number 3, we're just going to do the shuffle going 1 and 2 and 3 and 4. And you could even add an and at the end if you feel comfortable with that. I tried to give you just a little extra time to reload for the next part of the song. So we're just going 1 and 2 and 3 and 4. And that's measure 3. And like I said, you could go 1 and 2 and 3 and 4. And then in measure 4, we're playing this lick again. Really, it's the same lick, but we're only playing it up to this point. So we're playing it up to here. Now, but we're starting at the beginning of a measure. So it's going to take up a full measure there. So nothing new to learn here. We just go. And notice if I'm using my 3 finger on the 3rd fret and the slide, and then my 2 finger on the 2nd fret, I'm going to resolve on that. So right here is where I resolve on the 2nd fret of the A with my 2 finger. But then notice in the next measure, in measure 5, I'm going to a shuffle on A, but my 1 finger is going to go to the 2nd fret of the D. So we're going like this. And now, when you play the shuffle on A, it's good to take your thumb up over and just kind of touch that low E. Definitely mute the G with your 1 finger. You could mute even the high E and the B. There we go. And then, if you probably noticed that this lick is like a Stevie Ray Vaughan lick here, and this is one of his big techniques, is muting the strings he's not playing in order to play more aggressively. So, but really, we're going to do down picks here. At least that's the way I like to play it here. And the main thing is just to mute that G and probably that E so you don't have them ring out. You have that insurance policy. So we got right there. So there's that measure. Again, you could play the and after that 4. And now we're going to play this lick here, which is actually, again, the same as the first lick. Well, it's actually the exact same as measure 2. So there you go. Same as measure 2. We just go like this. And then we're going back into the E part of the shuffle here in measure 7. Like that. And then, I added a little extra thing at the end. You don't have to do that. You can follow the tab. And now, in measure 8, we're doing a new lick where we're going to play a triplet. The first part is going to be hammer on, and then you're going to play the G. So the way I like to play this is, we're playing the D first, hammering onto the 2nd fret. Do that with a down pick, and then you lift that finger up, and then you play an up pick on the G. What you don't want is this. See how they rain together? You want the notes to be distinct. So we have triplet, and then we're going to do a pull off, triplet, and then resolve it back to the 2nd fret of the D. Triplet, triplet. And that's a great little 6-note phrase to loop. anywhere on the pentatonic too. So a great way to practice is to do that little 6-note loop. Triplet, triplet. And now, this little lick here, we're going to have a grace note starting with our one finger on the 2nd fret of the G on that A note, and we're going to pick that, then immediately hammer on to the 3rd fret. And then notice it's all under this umbrella here. So we're going to go hammer on, pull off, and then pull off again from 2 to open. So 2 pull-offs in a row after that hammer on. So it goes triplet, triplet. You know, kind of tricky to do. As you pull off there, your one finger can mute the B. That gives you a little insurance policy. Then you can kind of twist that and flick it off. So it's triplet, like that. So a little bit tricky there. And then we're going to do another triplet. This is all triplets, 8th note triplets. And then this last one's going to be... Sounds a little bit funny on its own, but that 1 is a passing note. Because in the next measure, we're going to go to the 2nd fret. So... So from here we have... And then measure 9. And here I put, you know, that's a down pick or strum, strumming down on the B7. So we already had our 2 finger there. Then you just construct that B7 chord. And, you know, the chord chart's up there. I'm pretty sure you know that if you're playing this. And if not yet, oh my goodness, congratulations. But with the B7, a good idea is to still mute that low E with your thumb. So down, and then this up. I'm just lifting up on the B7, kind of curling my fingers back because, you know, on the B7 you have the open B that you have to get normally. Oh. But then, you know, if I lift up my fingers and release the pressure to get mutes or scratches, my 3 finger has to curl down here to touch the B. But I can keep right on the fingertips and just... That's the way you would practice that. Play it, scratch it. So it should sound, you know, perfectly scratched, perfect chord, muted, like that. So that's how you would practice this beat 2 of 2 and. Then beat 3, you just squeeze. And on these up picks, you don't have to play, you know, you don't have to play all 5 strings. I'm just, you know, you can nick them here. You don't have to play it like exactly on the up pick, all these notes. But definitely the high E, the B, and the G probably, and probably a little bit of the D, but it fades off because you're just, you know, it's just depending on how hard you want to hit it. Then on beat 4, we're going to do a down. Again, that's a down on scratches. And you could play all 6 strings here too. So, you know, maybe I should have done that in the tab. Put another X there on the 6th string. So we have... That's up to where my mouse is on measure 9. 1, 2, and 3, and 4. 1, 2, and 3, and 4. 1, 2, and 3, and 4. So that's how you would practice that. Those are my tips. And now we're going to go on the and of 4. We do an up on A7. Can mute that low E. With A7, it's not as important though. But your thumb's already there. So we have 1, 2, and 3, and 4. And it's easiest to do it with your 2 middle fingers and get a Spider-Man type of thing going there. Boom, boom. And that's in the chord chart too. And this note, it's on the and of 4, and then it ties over to a quarter note here on measure 10. So you're really, it's like a dotted half, but we're tying it. So you don't play it here, you just hold it until you come to beat 2, and then So on this lick here, we're going 3, open, 3, 2, and for the triplet. Then we have the same little lick that we played before. You can see it actually right up here above. Same thing. Grace note, triplet, triplet. And then here, same thing again. A to G with the pull off. But now I'm going to play my 2 finger on the 2nd fret of the D to resolve it on the E note. So. Now hold that down, that note, let it ring, because the next thing we're going to do in measure 11 is play the open low E. So it's going to be. So there's that E 1 octave higher, then you play the E an octave lower. And now we're going to take, I like to take my 1 finger to the 5th fret, right here, of the A string on a D note. And then you could take your 3 finger, but I prefer the pinky here, right behind the fret on the 7th fret of the G string. So there's your D again, that's your octave relationship. But you want to mute these other strings. So my 1 finger angle is going to mute the D. My pinky is going to mute the B below it. And then my 1 finger also will hook around and mute the high E and B again. But so really, and then we can play the open low E. I mean, you could mute the low E too, but that's kind of harder. So I just had that low E ring because it sounds cool, because you go. So on those up picks, I'm just releasing the pressure. Oh, it should get it better there. So we have 1, 2, and 3, and 4, and 1. That's going all the way to measure 12 right there, ending on the B on the 2nd fret of the A and the 4th fret of the G. And then after that, we're going to do an up pick, up strum, and you can hit some open notes, and then put the B7 down. So that's how you'd practice that. And that's a great little exercise there. Just go nice and slow at first. Get right on your fingertips. Alright, now we're going to do the whole lick again until we end it. But notice, same intro lick. So we're starting on beat 3 here, and then we could go and repeat back to measure 2, and you could keep repeating this as much as you like. So this little chunk here is actually the same as the first part here. These are called pickup notes because they're not the first full measure. You can also call that anacrusis. So that's the fancy Greek word. But you have your same notes here, and you can just repeat and then bounce back to measure 2, and so you have the same, the same thing repeating there, the same lick. Or you could just go through and blow through it and end it by completing the same lick, then playing an E7. So after, let me see if I can get that in the frame too. Notice how I put this all on one page? I really like to do that. Makes it easier to practice and play. So after here, we just play this open, B7, open, and then back into the lick. Oh. And there you just play the E7. That squiggly line means you just kind of rig your pick across like that. But if you want to make it even fancier, hammer on. So that's not in the tab, but it's always fun. Adds that little extra pizzazz. So last thing I want to mention there is that when you're doing this lick, you know, if you set it up, you're gonna have no problem. But if you're coming from like, it might be a little bit harder for your pick to aim exactly there. So you can mute or dampen the G and the D with these fingers, or even more. You could, and again, that's that Stevie Ray Vaughan thing where you can play more aggressively because you're more assured by the technique of your left hand not to play the notes that you don't want by just touching them or dampening them. So when I'm doing this, I can, even if I played that G or even the D by accident, then I wouldn't actually play it. So that is how that works there. And again, thank you so much for your support, and let me know if you have any questions or problems with this in the comments. And if you want, you can always, you know, again, take Skype lessons with me, and you can find that at tipjarguitar.com, or you can even change your Patreon pledge to, you know, get the guitar coaching with me at higher levels. So, but just contact me and leave your comments or questions in this this tab. So thank you again. Take care.